Equality between women and men is one of the European Union's founding values. It goes back to 1957, when the principle of equal pay for equal work became part of the Treaty of Rome. However, gender gaps remain, and in the labor market, women are still overrepresented in lower paid sectors and underrepresented in decision-making positions. Although inequality still exists, the EU has made significant progress over the last decades. This is mainly thanks to an equal treatment legislation, gender mainstreaming or integration of the gender perspective into all other policies, and for last, specific measures for the advancement of women, all carried on by different organizations and groups which now we're going to go through. We will start off with the European Commission. The Commission is regularly advised by entities such as the European Women's Lobby. It increases public awareness and defends women's interests in Europe. This one is the largest umbrella organization of women's associations in the EU. In 2013, they posted a guideline for corporate social responsibility partnerships, with the objective of enabling the creation of sound partnership between the European Women's Lobby and the corporate sector. The Directorate General for Justice implemented the Commission's strategy for equality between women and men, followed up by the Strategic Engagement for Gender Equality. They set the framework for the Commission's future work, focusing on the following 5 priority areas. 1. Increasing female labor market participation and equal economic independence. 2. Reducing the gender pay earnings and pension gaps and thus fighting poverty among women. 3. Promoting equality between women and men in decision-making. 4. Combating gender-based violence and protecting and supporting victims. And last, 5. Promoting gender equality and women's rights across the world. The European Trade Union Confederation and other affiliated unions have also fought for greater support for working mothers. They have for many years campaigned for policies to allow men and women to combine their careers with parenthood and other caring responsibilities. Council of the European Union. The Employment, Social Policy, Health and Consumer Affairs Council, also known as EPSCO, is responsible for promoting social security and inclusion by investing in areas such as childcare. They have 2 meetings per year dedicated exclusively to employment and social policy topics. The European Parliament. All issues are discussed in the Parliamentary Committee on Women's Rights and Gender Equality, FEM. Since its establishment in 1984, they work on legislative reports which later result in the EU legislation, or they give opinions based in other committee reports. Their most important projects were in 2009 the equality between women and men in the European Union and the Maternity Leave Directive. The Women in Parliament's Global Forum is the global network of female parliamentarians at national level, including the European Parliament, of whom there are currently around 9,000. The campaign "We Need More Women in Parliaments and as Political Leaders Because" aims to highlight the commitment of male presidents and prime ministers around the world to increase the number of women in politics. The United Nations. The International Labour Organization is the global body concerned with all matters connected to work in the world. Since 1919, it has been setting rules about employment. It has some conventions called International Labour Standards, which define basic minimum standards in the world of work, like equal remuneration in 1951 or discrimination in employment and occupation in 1958. Enterprises. They are among the main stakeholders, as it is them who increase the difficulty of returning to employment after pregnancy by providing mediocre leave arrangements for workers. They only think about money, money, and more money. They only see for their own benefit, so they want the lowest number of women in their enterprise. Employers are represented in Europe by the Federation of European Employers. Member States. Women's associations and lobbying groups have been asking for tighter regulations, but unfortunately, the Commission doesn't have the legislative power to change member states' women's policy, although they are the key actors. Areas such as education and social welfare remain competence of each national government. Due to this lack of homogeneity in both legislation and public policy, wide differences are observed among member states. We already arrived to the top! This means that for achieving gender equality, with the help of all the previous organizations and groups, you play a very important role. You can decide to support women in the fight or just leave it aside. It's your choice.